I'm in a exhibition hall at the ruined summer palace, Yuanming Yuan, and these bronze statues were pillaged during the Second Opium War when the Anglo-French forces looted and burned the palace and took a lot of these bronze heads back with them to their respective countries. And China over the years has been trying to get them back from said countries. Now I was at the Poly Art Museum a couple days ago and I saw they had at least 4 of them, maybe more, it might have been 6 of these heads. And they sat on human bodies and out of their mouths spat water, as I understand it, 2 hours for each clock. There were 12 of them. And they've got models here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So it looks like we've got a bear, an ox. I don't know, is that a bear? There are 2 bears maybe. One looks a little more fierce than the other. Dragon, horse, chicken, pig, goat maybe. I don't know. We'll get some closer looks in the exhibit. You read what they say in the guidebook. Subdued marble ruins of the palace building. Great fountain ruins. 1759. Main building fronted by lion-headed fountain standing opposite the Quan Shufa. 5 large stone screens. Let's see. West of the Great Fountain ruins, vestiges of the Haiyan Tong Reservoir held the water for the clock. Also known as the water clock, the Haiyan Tong, were 12 bronze human statues with animal heads shed at water for 2 hours in a 12-hour sequence. Dates from 1759. 12 animal heads from this apparatus ended up in collections abroad in Beijing. It is the time to retrieve them. 4 can now be seen at the Poly Art Museum. So they have some here too. I don't know if they're the actual artifacts or just reconstructions. Wish there was some English here so I could get a handle on what they're showing. Looks like maybe these are ruins of the palace here in the park and associated temples. And there's the European section of the park. You can buy models here at the gift shop. They have the heads, and I don't know if they have the whole thing like they do over on the sidewall that we just looked at. But you can certainly pick yourself up a larger, small version. I don't know how much it's going to run you. There's a monkey. Some of these I don't know if they are ones that are actual heads or just other models that they've made similar. That is type of ox maybe. bear. Is this a bunny rabbit? Looks like the very early versions of Bugs Bunny. The dragon. Guessing these are copies. This is snake. A horse. 2014 is the year of the horse. And here's the goat. Billy goat. They do have a monkey. Monkey, I saw plenty of these guys at the zoo yesterday. The rooster, the cock. Doggy. And piggy. You dare me to push my nose in and start snorting and turn to the other tourists and point to this and go and then shake my head like, yeah, it's a pig. When I was getting on the bus at the Ming relics, we were leaving Changling at the Ming tombs and going over to Dingling, and there was a crowd of people going to get on the bus, you know. And it was like 3 o'clock. Everyone wants to rush over before Dingling closes, and so I run over to the crowd. Everyone kind of crowds around and forms kind of a line, but 3 or 4 people wide and deep, and funneling outwards to like 10 people deep. So I just go around that and go to the other side of it and start barking like a dog. And all the Chinese ladies start laughing, and they're like, yeah, do it. You gotta push your way in sometimes. It's a crowded country. Crowded city, anyway. There are areas in the country that are emptying out and probably decreasing in population density. So this will take us to the ruins, and they've got a map, it looks like, in another exhibit. I guess I'll follow this route, huh? Meander a little bit. Body moving. At least it's not raining. It gives me a free hand here to check the map, actually, you know. Ooh, let's head over the bridge and we'll go into the lotus pond. I always thought evil spirits couldn't cross water, but I guess if you build a bridge that defeats that, and the evil spirits can then cross water. So there's still a few lotuses out too. It's kind of nice. I thought I would miss them all. Coming here, you could see here the lotuses of these are all grown and shed. So I did miss the height of it, unfortunately. You can see what they look like when they're all brown and they disperse their leaves, the lotuses. That's what I get for going to Europe for the summer. For August, anyway. That's a problem with a lot of places. Like, things are in bloom if you hang out another week or two, but then, you know, it gets insanely hot. And I think you're better off trying to visit a big city in the wintertime. And then if you want to head out into the countryside during the early spring when things start to bloom. You've seen all the major sites in the city at their least crowded, with the exception of like the holiday season when it can get tremendously crowded. I don't know if these are lilacs or not. Real pretty. Pink and purple. So we're headed out onto these islands here, huh? So we can wander around here a little bit. Square River. They're doing boat rides from down here that bring you around the park. Well, they kind of bring you up this way and drop you off, and you gotta either take a boat ride back or go on your own. This would have been a nice weekend trip to do with a local. It helped read the signs, because I don't know if you noticed, there's no English on any of those signs, which is unusual for tourist attractions in Beijing. Usually the tourist attractions here have English sub captions to tell you what you're headed towards and where everything is. But maybe this is like considered Chinese tourist zone, since all the locals or the foreigners will just flock to the main summer palace. Before I put my mask back on, I was inside. I was talking about it in my last video. I got some chocolate in it from eating ice cream. That's what the brown is. But it's fairly new, so I won't compare the filth on it to the one I wore for 2 weeks. You can already see it's starting to get some black on it just from the couple days I've been wearing it. It filters out 95%, but that valve on the front is real nice. It adds a little bit of bulk to it, but not enough that you still can't just keep it in your pocket, fold it in half and keep it in your pocket, you know. But it lets you wear it more comfortably when you breathe in and out. So it doesn't matter. I was trying to find a 99 N99 mask which filters out 99% of particulate matter versus this is 95%. But if it doesn't have a valve, then it's going to be stuffy to wear, so you're going to take it off all the time. So then does it really matter that it's 99% if there's no valve? You know, it doesn't do you any good if you don't wear it. And the other one I had, I was wearing it about half the time. This one I just keep it on all the time. When I'm in the subway, everywhere. There's really no reason to take it off. So this is a real pretty park to walk through. But I bet you it would have been insanely hot to do it when the lotuses were in bloom. For better or worse, because of the air pollution here in Beijing, you get a lot of days that are just overcast, smoggy. So you can get away with being outdoors and not worrying about getting sunburned and that sort of thing. Hanjing Hall. Huh, they do have English captions. Yeah, I was imagining it. Peony viewing area. Those are out of bloom by a long shot. May is when peonies bloom. I did see some peonies in Tokyo in May after the cherry blossoms. So that was nice. So we'll go over to Hanjing Hall, Yuling Long Hall, panorama model. That's where the panorama model is. Good. The ruins of Shijilin, that's the Lion Garden. I guess modeled after the one in Suzhou, which is a World UNESCO Heritage Site. Blah 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 blah. Baoxiang Temple, Jilin Hall, Haiyue Kaijin, Haiyue Kaijin. Da da da. I don't mind the sun sometimes, the image as it shows. I can taste you on my lips and smell you in my clothes. Cinnamon and sugary, softly smoking, spoken lies. You'll never know just how you'd look through other people's eyes. So we saw the bronze heads of the water clock, which I'll have to look up the name in the guidebook. It said it. What was it? Yanting something? This will be nice. I'll leave this pretty much on throughout the whole park. And I forgot to record from the actual entrance here, which is where you enter, but I didn't lose much. So far we've been walking about a mile and a quarter. I don't do routes. Sometimes I wonder if it would be better to record a whole route that I take for a day, plan everything out ahead of time. I'll spend an hour here, an hour there, blah, blah, blah. I don't like to do that. I like to take my time and enjoy it, and if I need to go back somewhere for a second day to see a little bit of it, I'll do that. And because of that, well, when I walk around for a day, I'll only record the street, you know, from one corner to another. I'll rename a street even if I'm only on it for like 20 feet, you know. I'll try to name that street if I know what its name is, because I feel like if I ever wanted to go back there, that'd be more helpful to me than having a route that I followed to a whole bunch of destinations, and I try to say, well, what's the name of that street, and I don't know what it is. And I could have easily recorded it when I was on it because I was looking at the sign, but I didn't. But the reality is, if I was going to sell these maps and monetize it somehow, it'd be more helpful for the person doing it the first time to just follow my route the whole way. Here's where you stop for lunch. This is the exit. You come out of the subway. You know, etc., etc., etc. Oh, that's a nice jay. Big long tail. Hello, little jaybird. Little jaybird. There's another one. White wings. He's blue, black, and white. Where are we? What have we come to here? I will take the handicapped routes. It's just about noon now. 11:59. We have entered the lost world. So these are the ruins of one of the palaces, obviously. It's actually a neat way to restore it, what they've done here, because what you have is a floor plan. Imagine you're looking down at your future mansion, because everyone's going to be a millionaire. There's no need to have socialized healthcare. We're all going to be millionaires. And we're all going to have dream mansions we live in. So imagine you're looking down at the blueprint of your dream mansion when you hit the lottery. And you'd be seeing where the columns are, the walls, the layout, courtyards, right? You wouldn't be able to do this if there was a wall here. Whoosh! Unless you had superpowers. I could walk through walls. I walk through walls. This is decode spot. Hanjing Tong Fong Xiang building. So you could scan this in your, put your camera up to the screen and scan it. And you'll get all the information in Putonghua of what we're looking at here. Here's some drumstones. You usually see drumstones at the entrances to buildings, the entrance exit. Ornamental drumstone. Some of the nicer mansions in the hutongs that have been turned into memorial museums will have these in front. Whether they were there initially, I'm not sure. There is at least off Nanlugu where I'm staying. There's at least one hutong that was a mansion to a prince general that has some nice drumstones out front. I think it's the one Lonely Planet actually mentions in their little walking guide through that area of Dongcheng North by Hohai Lakes. So the idea of a rockery is that you want to balance your mansion with water, which is soft, and mountains, which are hard. And so you're bringing the mountains inside to your compound by creating a rockery. And they're made with grotesque limestones that are all misshapen and stacked and cemented together. They're not something that most Westerners would find attractive in a traditional sense, but in a traditional Chinese sense, they're considered very aesthetic. So you have to keep that in mind, and they're often arranged in labyrinths that you could walk through. In fact, when I was in Shijilin in Suzhou, I got lost in it. It was impossible to get in and out of it. You're climbing up and down and through it, over and around, and I even slipped because they were quite well worn. Some of the limestone they actually bury in lakes to erode them even further for at least, a decade or two to make them nice and slippery. So they can be a real nightmare to walk around with all the tourists that go through Shijilin and Suzhou too, because it's a World UNESCO Heritage Site. They have bus groups come in every day. All the stones are polished from this people stepping on them. But I was there in mid-July, and it was real nice to go into some of the grottos because you would cool off by at least 10 degrees in there. I mean, the word grotesque comes from the word grotto or cave. In the West, it goes back to the Nero, who built his golden house in Rome, and when they excavated it, they found all the odd-shaped animals and stuff that he had in there. And that's where we get misshapen, grotesque from the grotto they excavated there in Rome. That's my understanding of it. So grotto in English is like a dark, dank, misshapen, ugly kind of thing. But in China, the gardens it's not considered as weird to have that style. I don't really like Chinese gardens. I like Japanese gardens. There's subtle differences. But for a lot of the art and architecture, even religion in Asia, especially East Asia, as the culture moves, Buddhism moves from India across Asia to Japan, it becomes more refined. And I think the same thing you can see with a lot of the ornamental landscape design and architecture and art, calligraphy, tea ceremony, all these things, they become like a distillation of Japanese art is a distillation of Chinese art. Take all the best, kind of refine it. So I don't like saying something like that because it makes it seem like the Chinese stuff is inferior, but that's just my personal predilection. It's not inferior, I don't think. It's just I aesthetically prefer Japanese And especially because of the hatred that the Chinese have towards Japan still, I think, for the war of aggression that was waged, which is World War II. You want to be careful if you say something like that to a Chinese person. I was listening to a guy who does stand-up. He moved to China when I was at the Edinburgh Festival. He did a thing called Made in China, his one-man show. It was all about how he moved here for a year to learn Chinese, and so he could do stand-up comedy in Chinese was his goal. He was an Irish American. He had moved to, I think, Cork and learned Gaelic or something to do the same thing. And he only had a small audience of, I don't know, 60,000 people, because not a lot of people speak Gaelic. So he said, next language I learn, I'm going to go for the big one, you know. 1 billion people speak Chinese, you know. So that's what we did. But he was joking, like, how there was a comic he saw doing stand-up comedy, and he got on stage and he said, hey, how about I'm not Japanese, how about giving me a big round of applause? And the guy got a huge round of applause. And he said that was his, like, introduction to the animosity between the two countries. I think the problem is exacerbated because Japan doesn't necessarily own up to a lot of the stuff it's done. America, you could say, has the same problem, but I think it's a lot easier to have a dialogue with an American about the shitty things we've done around the world since the Cold War, or things we've done to the Native Americans, because it's taught in school. It's no secret. And, you know, most people will readily admit that we committed genocide against Native Americans. And easily admit that a lot of the Cold War politics we got involved in were violated the national sovereignty of small countries and made us into an evil empire, etc., etc., you know. And won't deny it, but doesn't change history, but at least, you know. But that's the problem in Japan. I don't think they necessarily teach a lot of history that way. It's kind of just taught like, we made a mistake. And it's like, well, when I went to the Meiji Memorial, which I understand in Japan, it's the national memorial to their war dead, so it's very holy. They don't want to, like, make the soldiers who died seem like they were dying for a bad cause, but they don't even mention the rape of Nanking there. They just talk about how orderly Japanese soldiers were in administering other states in Manchukuo or something. And you think, yeah, but you're really doing those soldiers a disservice, because now everyone who goes through that exhibit is going to say, this exhibit went over the whole history of World War II, and you didn't mention the rape of Nanjing. Come on, you know, you have to at least mention it and put it in perspective and talk about maybe why it happened. Like Nixon's place in his National Library there in Yorba Linda, California. Their exhibit mentioned Watergate and, you know, tried to talk about it, and then it was big criticism for a long time that they didn't do enough to explain it. So then they changed the exhibit finally and put a big thing in about it and explained it better. And you think, oh, well, see? I mean, it is a National Park Service site, but it is the guy's National Archives, and it's his legacy. But instead of trying to, like, whitewash it, you know, enough time goes by, talk about it. And it's been like 2-3 generations now since World War II. And you think, okay, well, you could talk about it more, but it's still a touchy issue, you know. Yeah, you can see a boat there. There's the top of a boat going through the marsh. The surprising thing I think about visiting most countries is how, like, you know, you get some odd stares as a foreigner sometimes. It's mostly out of curiosity. And I'm a good-looking guy. But, you know, people want to have their picture taken with you or something like that. And it's not... you think, you know, people warn you like, oh, you're going to a communist country, and no one's like out to get you, you know, because it's a communist country or a socialist country. No one's trying to like do you in as you walk down the street, you know. The police can be surprisingly helpful, you know. And like people talk, oh, you need to get a visa, and people made it sound so difficult to get a visa. You apply, and 3 days later you get a visa. It's very easy. You pay the money, you do the paperwork, make a reservation at a hotel, book a flight, show them that, get your visa. Very easy. So most of the people that talk shit, you know, like, oh, it's so hard to visit and it's a communist country. Those are people who never have come here. So don't listen to anything they say. They're blowing smoke. They have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, I tried to find a travel partner for a year, and when I told them I wanted to go to places like China, India, most people are like, oh my god, I would never go there. But those are the same people who are like, who will go to Thailand, you know, and hang out on the beach in Thailand in a rural area, you know, like real touristy area or something even. Or they'll go hang out at some South American country that's really cheap, you know. You'll think, well, you'll go there, but you won't go to the other place. Well, what's the difference? It's just in your head, you know. Peony viewing area, Hanjing Hall. Did I miss Hanjing Hall? I guess that was this. That's what I walked through, huh? And the panorama model should be right here. So that's the east gate there. I should mark all these off, you know, while I'm here, so I don't forget. So this area we can call Changchun Yuan Garden. Why don't we do this? Separate word, garden. Autocorrect really sucks when you start traveling internationally. You want to type things in another language. And then this area over here is the actual Yuanming Yuan. And this area down here, this is Chun Yuan. There's no garden symbol. I can't believe it. So I use this, which is a meditative symbol, which someone could think is like a church or something. But I use the monument symbol for the church. And then this is a garden, as in like communing with nature or just chilling out. Since there's really no other good symbol to use for garden. All the green stuff is like not good to use, you know, so you really don't have any options. You think they would put a little tree in.
Here.
So go check out the panorama model. And they have a jade delicacy lodge, huh? They've got a museum there too, it looks like. We can get onto that. Zeelan Hall, Heian Hall. I don't know if we can get onto that island. I don't see any bridges. Jade Delicacy Island. So here's a boat ride. I should mark that. Put a little symbol. They do have a symbol for ship. That's helpful. just a pavilion, ruined platform. I want to get some of that corn everybody's eating. Smells good. So here's the panorama model here. If I could advise you on anything, it's to get up early in the morning and just go do it. And that way, you'll be surprised at how much you can get by with your 2 legs and common sense. And then it becomes a matter of how much time do you have before you get tired and things close. Do I have to buy a separate ticket? She took both. Why did she take both? She's doing it to everybody. She took both my tickets. Why did she rip off 2 tickets? So this is the city model, huh? There's a hill there with a pavilion on top. There's a palace or pavilion hall. That looks like a Western style palace. Here's the maze. There's the island. There will be water. They should paint it blue inside. Actually float some water maybe through the model. So they surrounded it all by this double gate system, huh? Huge complex. Was this all the part of the summer palace? Looks absolutely huge. This is a temple, it looks like. What is this out here? Just ruins now? Wish I knew which way was north. I guess when you're looking out from the platform, that must be north. That would make sense. It's that your view is oriented towards north. Nope, it's not. North is this way. So I guess the way I came in to the whole complex was this way. So that would mean we're up here now, in that area. Yeah, that's where the flag is. That's where we are. We're right there. So that's where we are now. So we walked up down here, all the way up, and now we are here. We're there by the flag. So this corner of the park is the northeast corner. Let's see what it says in the guidebook. This is why it's stupid to have this. You're like, where am I? And where does the... I just read it 3 times. And where does the northeast corner start? If they had a map, you could click on stuff, you know? Perfection and Brightness Garden is the west section. Southern compound is YuanMing Yuan, Spring 10,000 Springs. The Labyrinth was the Garden of Yellow Flowers. I don't know if they really mention this. See how they're incomplete, you know? They don't give you a full history of a place, and any of the guidebooks are kind of on your own to a large extent if you want to explore off the beaten path. It's quite annoying. And there's still like 2.0. This is a guidebook 2.0. You got to use this in conjunction with their ebook, which is retarded ebooks. Oh yeah, I'll have a 2,000 page ebook to flip through on my little small phone. Great. Why don't they integrate it with a map function where you can look up places by search term on the map with or without internet and search up terms, and then they pop up in a physical location. That would be much more helpful than a book you have to thumb through. That's like, when I downloaded the Tokyo, or might have been the whole Japan guidebook, it was like a ridiculous number of pages, thousands of pages to try to read through on a phone. I was like, are you kidding me? You can't just give me a map? And they're actually showing you the actual maps they have in here as PDF files. And it was like, and you had to like tap it to enlarge it. It was like so stupid. It was like, really? You own all this content. You can't just make an interactive map that I can download and hit points of interest on it and search them and zoom in, out, blah, blah, blah. And sell it to me for like $30. It'd be a bit much, maybe $25. That'd be acceptable price for something like that for all of Beijing. And then it would be based on real-time GPS instead of providing stupid descriptions like turn left, turn right, down this side street, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to fuck around with any of that shit. You'd go to the starting point and then you'd walk. Anyway, it's a big garden. It'd be helpful to have one of the interactive maps like I got, that I'm creating myself here. You should sell it to Lonely Planet. They do have a monkey. I saw plenty of these guys at the zoo yesterday. The rooster, the cock. Doggy. And Piggy. You dare me to push my nose in and start snorting and turn to the other tourists and point to this and go and then shake my head like, yeah, it's a pig. When I was getting on the bus at the Ming relics, we were leaving Changling at the Ming tombs and going over to Dingling, and there was a crowd of people going to get on the bus, you know. And You know, it was like 3 o'clock. Everyone wants to rush over before Ding Ling closes. And so I run over to the crowd. Everyone kind of crowds around and forms kind of a line, but 3 or 4 people wide and deep and funneling outwards to like 10 people deep. So I just go around that and go to the other side of it and start barking like a dog. And all the Chinese ladies start laughing. And they're like, yeah, 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 do it, do it. You read what they say in the guidebook. Subdued marble ruins of the palace building. Great fountain ruins. 1759. Main building fronted by line-headed fountain standing opposite the Quan Shufa. 5 large stone screens. Let's see. West of the Great Fountain ruins, vestiges of the Haiyan Tong Reservoir held the water for the clock. Also known as the water clock, the Haiyan Tong, were 12 bronze human statues with animal heads shed at water for 2 hours in a 12-hour sequence. Dates from 1759. 12 animal heads from this apparatus ended up in collections abroad in Beijing. It is the time to retrieve them, for can now be seen at the Poly Art Museum. So they have some here too. I don't know if they're the actual artifacts or just reconstructions. I'm in a exhibition hall at the ruined Summer Palace, Yuanming Yuan, and these bronze statues were pillaged during the Second Opium War, when the Anglo-French forces looted and burned the palace and took a lot of these bronze heads back with them to their respective countries. And China over the years has been trying to get them back from said countries. Now, I was at the Poly Art Museum a couple days ago, and I saw they had at least 4 of them, maybe more, it might have been 6 of these heads. And they sat on human bodies, and out of their mouths spat water, as I understand it, 2 hours for each clock. There were 12 of them. And they've got models here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So it looks like we've got a bear, an ox. I don't know, is that a bear? There are 2 bears maybe. One looks a little more fierce than the other. Dragon, horse, chicken, pig, goat maybe. I don't know. We'll get some closer looks in the exhibit. Muller. That is type of ox maybe. That's a bear. Is this a bunny rabbit? Looks like the very early versions of Bugs Bunny. The dragon. Guessing these are copies. This is snake. A horse. 2014 is the year of the horse. And here's the goat. Really good. Wish there was some English here so I could get a handle on what they're showing. Looks like maybe these are ruins of the palace here in the park and associated temples. And there's the European section of the park. You can buy models here at the gift shop. They have the heads, and I don't know if they have the whole thing like they do over on the sidewall that we just looked at. But you can certainly pick yourself up a large or small version. I don't know how much it's gonna run you. There's a monkey. Some of these I don't know if they are ones that are actual heads or just other models that they've made. Some